The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
Hello, and welcome to another week on The Brandon Peters Show. Today we'll feature a discussion on the 1973 film Lady Snowblood. Joining me today to discuss that film is a senior writer as well as a podcast host over at the AV Club. It always excites me to have her as a guest, Katie Rife.
Hi.
Hello.
Good to see you, Brandon.
Good to see you. Good to bring you onto this show.
Yes,
for the very
I'm
first
excited.
time. It's been a while, and I tried to bring you on earlier, and then you gave me Mike Vanderbilt.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Very welcome. He was a treat, and he will be back on here.
I'm glad it went well.
Him and I were already talking about what he's going to do when he comes back. So.
Oh, great. Awesome.
So you're in the middle of getting like Sundance shaken out of your system here.
Yes, Sundance was last week. It was virtual festival. I've actually never been to Park City for Sundance. That's not something I've really done in my career, but I did virtual Sundance this year. It was my first time. And it was pretty cool. I feel like these festivals are kind of starting to hit their stride and figure out how to do the virtual experience. And this one went pretty well, I think. Yeah, it saw some cool stuff. My favorite was there's one called We're All Going to the World's Fair that was in the next section that was really cool. It was a really innovative sort of take on the whole screen life phenomenon. But I wouldn't quite call it a horror film. It's more of I'd say experimental film and people like fall asleep. But this one, it's really creepy. It's sort of screen life horror mixed with creepypasta. It's pretty cool.
Oh, cool. I'll
Yeah.
be looking out for that. Before we get into Lady Snowblood, which is a rad favorite film here, let's talk a little bit about you in case people don't know who you are. Or they should.
Trust me, lots of people don't know who I am. I'm not that big of a deal.
So entertainment journalism, that's kind of where you're at here. Was that always the interest, or did it kind of evolve from something else? What were your early goals when being involved with
It's
movie
funny you
stuff?
say that because I did a lot of different things before kind of landing on entertainment journalism and criticism. I did go to journalism school. I had a self-designed degree in, I'm so lucky because I'm not qualified to do anything else but what I am doing now. I am completely useless in those areas of life. I had a self-designed degree where I combined film and magazine journalism. So I basically majored in being a film critic, and thank God it worked out.
Wow.
Because, not good for much else. I actually did a lot of different things. I did a fair amount of music writing when I was younger. And then after I got out of school, I joined, I was one of the founders. I was there in the beginning when we started a found footage group called Everything is Terrible and toured around with that for a little while, a couple years, and then worked at a video store here in Chicago for a long time. And at that point, I was doing a lot of different things, because of touring with Everything is Terrible. I started getting involved in doing screenings, a little bit of programming, and a little bit of filmmaking. I never directed anything myself, but I worked on other people's films and kind of had a few different sidelines going. And the whole time I was also writing articles here and there. And then eventually I started freelancing at AV Club, and turned out I really took to it. That was back in 2014. I started in February, and then in August, they brought me on as a fellow, which is like a 6-month contract to work for them full time. And then 3 months later, they decided to keep me, and the rest is history. Yeah.
February. We're in February, so this is the...
Yeah, it is. It's my 7-year anniversary.
7-year anniversary.
It's weird. It feels like 3 or 4 years. It doesn't feel like 7 years.
Well, this past year, it's probably caught up.
Oh, sure. This past year doesn't count at all, right? We're all a year younger than we actually are.
or as we like to say, these times we're in.
Yes, these
Or,
unprecedented times.
Unprecedented times because of the pandemic, all that. Everything is terrible, which is like a really cool thing. I used to watch a lot. And it's funny, before I met you, I was like, wait, everything is terrible. Like, and I had no idea you were involved with that. For some reason, I watched it. It's probably because I just watched the videos.
Yeah, there's
stuff,
no names on the videos.
Right.
We would wear masks at the shows. And so,
Oh, okay.
Unless you did an interview, then no one would know that you were, or you told them, then no one would know.
Mm-hmm.
It was like anonymous on purpose because we were trying to be a little bit, mysterious and creepy.
Right.
So that's why we would wear monster costumes, and people would be like, and we'd be like, we came out of the internet. It was a whole bit, that we did. So no one would know if you didn't tell them.
Were you one of like the first groups doing that, pulling it up? Because now there's like VCR Party and there's like a bunch of different ones, but were you kind of like the innovators, or?
We did not invent the format or the concept. The concept's been around. One of the very first people to do what you would call a found footage mixtape was actually Joe Dante.
Okay.
He did one in 1969 called The Movie Orgy that he made that when he was in school. It's not out anywhere because it is like an 8-hour mega mix. And he did it the old fashioned way where he was splicing clips from 8 millimeters and 16 millimeters together. It's a lot of commercials, clips from films, things like that. And the Movie Orgy is designed to be shown at a party, and you're supposed to go in and out and like not sit and watch the whole thing intently. And so he did that all the way back in 1969. And then when I was in college, there was something called Lost and Found Video Night, which was put out by Henry Owings, who did Chunklet Magazine down in Athens, Georgia. He had a whole series of tapes. Then there was TV Carnage, which was based in New York. And that was Derek Beckles, who, last I checked, he was working with Eric Andre on something.
Okay.
But there were predecessors, but we were the first ones to have a website.
Gotcha. Okay.
We kind of were first in the internet space, but there were definitely people who made DVDs long before we did.
Gotcha. Yeah, because it's a brilliant concept. It's one of those things when you say, I'm like, oh, why didn't I think about that? Because when I was in college, I've always rented, cult stuff, weird stuff, and we had when I was in college, we had a family video, which is now defunct. They had this crazy VHS section. It's like not something you expect to find at Family Video, but it was like 2 for 50 cents or something, and your college kids like go crazy. And we would go to town on that, so just finding the craziest stuff, and it took up a big chunk of the store too. Yeah. And we would make we had like during finals week, we had Final Fantasy week, so we'd have to go into the video store, try to find like a double feature fantasy film for each night of the week.
Oh, that's so fun!
Watch. And I picked one called The Invincible Barbarian one time, and it's notorious because it ended on the word "or." It was like the battle waged across the lands, and the demons came to this, and it was go to this or, and then pause credits. It was funny because we would then for eternity almost, but for the next week we would leave voicemails, be like, yes, hey, we're gonna be hanging out tonight right around getting dinner around 6, and just click. And
then just click.
It was a thing. But I was like, wow.
I have a video kind of like that I got back then. It was called Hillbilly Hercules, and it was only a half an hour long.
Oh, wow.
And it definitely ended on a cliffhanger like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people would do that.
But taking that and doing something cool like that, that's where it's like, oh, man.
Oh, sure. But we were influenced by TV Carnage and by Lost Found Video Night, and also the work of Craig Baldwin, who's a collage artist working out of San Francisco in the 80s and 90s. We were influenced by Negative Land. All that kind of stuff existed before us. So we kind of took that and kind of combined that with the VHS aesthetic. Okay. Because this was like the mid 2000s. And one of the big reasons that Everything is Terrible came about was because a lot of video stores were closing around that time.
Right.
And so what we would do is go to the video store and be like, how much for everything? And sometimes they'd be like, $40. And then you just walk out with 200 tapes. Right. And so we all get these crazy libraries of tapes because we all kind of did that for fun. And then we just started watching the tapes and making little clips out of them. And it started by just excerpting things. And then I had studied film in school and was interested in editing and all this kind of stuff. And so we kind of started playing with it, trying to make something out of something else. And my grand goal, I don't know if we ever accomplished it. I don't know if I did see a found footage tape last year called Ask Anybody that a guy named Evan Purcell made. He's the closest of anybody I've ever seen to making a movie that makes sense as a movie with a plot and characters and everything out of pieces of other movies.
Ooh.
He came really, really close, and I was really impressed. But his, though, it's funny because what he was working with is very formulaic, so maybe it was a little bit easier. He was working with gay porn.
Oh,
so he
okay.
made a feature-length film out of clips.
That's cool.
The interstitial parts of the porns.
Wow. I wonder if it...
a whole movie out of it.
I wonder if it feels more seamless than like Dangerous Men, because that movie... that movie was intended,
it makes a lot of sense as Dangerous Men, so yeah. He succeeded. Yeah. It's really cool. I think you can see it online. He also has an Instagram account called Ask Anybody. If you go on there, then you'll see what he does. He's a very cool guy. He is like an archivist in his own right, and he's specifically interested in preserving gay porn and looking at it as more than masturbation material and looking at the cinematic aspects of it and the found footage aspects of it. So I really like his work, and I think he kind of took it to the next level, because I'm not sure we ever quite made a full like with the way we would do it is we would have like chapters. Mm-hmm. Like my part would be the God part, and I would take all the clips that we had from all the Christian videos and make like a 20-minute segment that flowed nicely all the God stuff, and then we would fade that into the next part and the next part, and that's how we made ours. And so you never had a full arc all the way through. Gotcha.
It's really cool. There's been a lot of, if you go on Amazon, it's ridiculous, like VHS documentaries. Have you been involved in any of those?
I was in one, called Adjuster Tracking.
Okay, I've seen that one. Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to go back to it. I need to go back.
That was like 7-8 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Was it? Now ex-husband.
Okay.
It was a while ago.
So don't do music videos. Don't do movies with them. And it ends. That's what happens.
Oh, I know plenty of couples that have been in documentaries
together. Fair enough. So going to that with your career in the AV club, what do you feel? Do you feel like you've put any kind of like stamp or direction into the AV club that you're like proud of, or like that's there and that's the way it is because of my presence?
Well, things have changed a lot since I started there. So the reason, there was a lot of turnover, a lot of new people came in around the same time that I came in. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's too sensitive of information to say that what happened was Pitchfork started this website called The Dissolve, a movie website, and poached a good half of the AV Club staff to start this website.
Oh, and that happens with all companies everywhere, though.
So there were some openings all of a sudden.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what happened. And The Dissolve only lasted a few years. It was a great website. I don't have any shit to talk about The Dissolve. It was a great website.
It dissolved.
It did dissolve.
That was easy. That was right there. Nice.
It got me my job. So
there you go.
The Dissolve.
Thank you.
I mean, I think that we didn't really take horror movies as seriously until I started. We didn't do as extensive of coverage, and we didn't treat it as seriously.
Okay.
I think that is a big contribution that I've made to it, and expanding their festival coverage and just certain areas that they didn't really, I guess, take seriously as art or whatever. I always joke that I'm the token spooky bitch. That's my job. We had a new employee come on a couple weeks ago, and we were all supposed to introduce ourselves. So hi, I'm Katie. I'm the spooky bitch.
Oh my gosh.
Because for film, I cover all aspects. I try to be a general purpose film critic. I cover all kinds of stuff. I reviewed Judas and the Black Messiah last week. I reviewed The World to Come this week. But that's where my heart's at, is the horror movies. And I also do a lot of true crime coverage in the TV section. So yeah, I guess that's my niche over there. Although, I truly take the idea of a pop culture website, meaning that not that you're not discerning or you don't have taste, but that you're open to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And you should be. I mean, everybody, there's a lot of desire to wear a badge of honor of I am only a horror person. It's you do so much. I'm a horror person myself, a gore horror. I don't know, but like I don't want to always like sit on. Like I would be like, well, because I'd like to talk about this too. I'd like to like I have opinions on this. I actually know a lot about
Yeah, it doesn't mean you've gone soft if you also like comedies. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool, man.
Sometimes a laugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes a laugh. But yeah, I see like there's a lot of like tribalism and wanting to be like, oh, the horror community and all that stuff. I'm like, cool, but I've found being involved like festivals and stuff. Like my geekness has like turned from being like fandom of like certain properties to more of like fandom of just film in general. Like I geek out like film history, all stuff like that. And it's kind of a weird place for me. Like I fit in with you to a point, but I don't agree. Like, I grew up like loving Star Wars, and now I'm like, I don't want to be around Star Wars people. I like it myself for reasons.
There's too much goddamn Star Wars these days. We were better off when you had to wait for 10 years to watch a new Star Wars movie.
There you go.
Better off back then.
Better off.
That's my old Star Wars person rant. Like, we were better off when it wasn't just new stuff all the time.
It's just like
our own backstories.
I'll just keep it to my like the 90s. I guess I'll keep it to myself. My Star Wars stuff.
Exactly.
Because I argue that's the only time it was ever truly geeky to be a Star Wars person.
Yes, I agree. The
83 to 99, because there was nothing.
Exactly.
Books.
But you know what flourished back then? The EU.
Yeah.
Conventions, cosplay, fan culture all flourished back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really weird because there are billion-dollar movies. They aren't like you're not an outcast. Like the guy you hate, the football star, he's going to the movie. He probably likes it.
Yeah, same with Marvel Comics and DC Comics.
Now.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about quote unquote nerd culture,
right?
Which I don't really have enough of a handle on to really articulate here.
Right.
It's something I think about a lot, and I think that like the sort of triumph of the nerds in the box office in the 2000s, I'm not sure that it was a good thing for culture.
No, we won, and it was like, oh no, did we?
Yeah. And even the nerds themselves, they started getting more toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entitlement, I don't think was good for nerds.
No. I mean, it used to be community. Now infight, like it's
there's a lot of infighting nowadays. Yeah,
that's another topic for my roundtable called Fandom. So,
yeah, right.
We'll talk about that.
Question mark? Dumb! Exclamation points.
There we go. That's what we just be yourself, like your things.
Yeah, but
healthily.
But to kind of bring it around, like I do kind of see myself kind of straddling, because like you have like film critics and then you have horror writers, and they're kind of two different things.
Yeah.
And I straddle those two worlds more so than I think a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I would say you do, for sure, yeah. Because, there's a lot of the prestige, like, when you're a horror fan and stuff like that, there's, the one thing I like about a horror fan, there could be one cool part in an otherwise movie, but it gets to recommend for that part, and I don't think a film critic is going to understand that to write for the horror audience. And like The Beast Within, that was forever recommended on a transformation for the longest time. So
totally.
But yeah,
and I think you can bring some of that into critiquing films that aren't horror, and I think that you can have sometimes higher standards for your horror movies.
Exactly,
too.
That's perfect. Yes,
totally
agree.
Try to incorporate elements of both into my writing. I don't look down on anything or spit on anything. I take all genres seriously. Mm-hmm. And if there is a movie that otherwise sucks pretty bad, but it has a cool part, like that will influence the grade I give it. I'm going to bump it up because it had a cool part,
Well, and also I think you come at it with a perspective similar where I am. You've seen a lot of trash in your life. That's my home.
And people, in the trash.
Well, I'm
a raccoon lady.
when I'm writing a review or something, I'm like, well, it's average, and people are like, it's the worst movie of all time. I'm like, dude, you have not seen.
Oh, sure.
You have not even close. It was a technically proficient movie. I didn't care, but it wasn't like it was decently made and acted. Like it'll sit in the average bin. Like it's not an F. Totally. You haven't seen an F. Because if this is an F, then I guess I'm jealous. I haven't
seen very many Fs in my life. Do you know what movie always comes back to me? Like when I think of like one of the most disappointing movies I've ever seen. You ever seen Werewolf in Washington, the Nixon werewolf movie?
No, I didn't.
It's incredibly disappointing. Don't bother.
Okay.
Like, when people want to say that, like, some pretty okay kind of indie movie is, a piece of utter garbage. And just like, yeah, but have you seen Werewolf in Washington? Because that movie is actually garbage.
Right. Yes. I've seen some just painful stuff to get through, as if it was like off a checklist, and
absolutely,
and it's just like, no, you guys don't. They knew how to run the camera. They won. They got to a D right there.
Right.
So let's, it's different.
Actors knew their lines. Like,
yeah,
they're doing great.
But then again, people aren't even like reading now. They see they want the headline, and that's all they. Okay,
true.
Done. So
or the grade. Here's a dirty secret. I hate giving grades, and I wish I didn't have to.
Oh, I hate scoring too. I hate it. Like, because then someone comes back at you like, you gave that, so you're saying that this and this, or I'm like, no, it's so
right.
bad.
Yeah, especially when you put things side by side. Yeah, that's when grades really start to get really ambiguous, and I often wish I could change my grades.
Read my words, figure out if I liked it. That should tell you.
Yeah, they're essential. They're part of the deal. You got to deal with them. But if I could get rid of them, I would. Yeah,
I sometimes just certain ones I get to. I'm like, if I'm writing a bunch on this, you're not getting a grade. If I'm doing my 5-paragraph minimum done, you'll get a grade. But
okay,
that's what I do now. Like because I get thrown back. Like because I give a high grade to something like Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Sorry, I really enjoy that movie. I've loved it. I can't just go, man, 3 stars. One of the better Jason films, huh?
That's 4.
That's 4. That's the Corey Feldman one with Crispin Glover. It is. It's everything. It's if you're gonna watch one Jason movie and you want it to be scary, that's your best shot because it gets everything the first 3 did does it the best.
The quintessential Jason movie. No bullshit.
No bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, and it's got Dead Fuck. I love Dead Fuck.
Dead Fuck. Oh God. Last American Virgin. Yes, he is Teddy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So since I met you years ago, and I think we were working on. You were talking to me about the Halloween home video thing.
Yeah, I wanted to do a really intense. I was like, I want to do something really granular and nerdy and intense about all the different home releases of Halloween, and I'm not sure how. Somebody recommended you to me or something like that. Or maybe I found something that you had written and I was like, oh,
I think it was my because I did an article on like every home video release they'd ever done. And I think you read that you're like, I'll just talk to him or something.
Yeah. Like you knew. Yeah. I was like, oh shit. Because it's one of those things where like a thing with talking about horror movies is that you really want to know your shit because people really know their shit. And so, yeah, that's when I saw what you'd written. I was like, oh, he really knows his shit. So I turned it into more of an interview thing where I was interviewing you about it because you already knew. I wasn't going to just read what you read and rip it off. I was going to bring you on,
Right, yeah. And no, when we were working on that, I was like, okay, her and I are on the same wavelength about a lot of things, so I need to talk to her more often.
Yeah.
I brought you on my old show a couple times, and
absolutely.
Here we are now. But yeah, I always enjoy sharing stuff with you. So
yeah, and we're not too far apart, Midwest. Woo.
Yeah. Yes, very true.
誰に頼まれてこの柴犬を狙う？死ね！
恨み。死んでいた朝に弔いの雪が降るはぐれ犬の遠吠え下駄の音きしむよく見てごらん私の顔をお前たちがなぶり者にしたその女にどこか似ていると思わないか
So Lady Snowblood, and I'm going to continue to murder names here, is directed by Toshiya Fujita from a script by Norio Osada based on the manga of the same name. It stars Meiko Kaji, Toshio Kurosawa, Miyoko Akaza, Takeo Chi, Hosel Komastu, and Sane Nakahara.
Yeah, you didn't do too bad, dude.
All right.
I apologize if anyone of Eastern European descent is watching this, but I kind of struggle with like Czech and Polish names, stuff like that. It's kind of tough.
I'm just as awful as you people think us Americans are. So,
everybody who I've asked about this says the main thing is just to try your best.
Say it confidently. So, Lady Snowblood concerns a strikingly beautiful young woman raised from birth to be a deadly instrument of revenge against the swindlers who destroyed her family.
Born for vengeance, baby.
Born for no choice.
Walking between worlds. She's neither human nor a ghost.
She is a task. That is all she is.
She's a demon child born to kill.
On the night of... So... You brought Lady Snow. I knew you'd make great choices, so it's like I can't wait to see what she comes back with. So why Lady Snowblood, and what's your kind of history with the film?
Well, I picked this one because Meiko Kaji, the star of this film, is one of my very favorite people. If you want to talk about like formative influences, I guess we could have done Kill Bill Volume 1.
Right.
I saw that movie and I was just like, shh, when it came out. But I chose this one because that movie led me to this one. And then this movie led me to so many other things. And so I think that this one is really the real kind of what opened the door for me. Mm-hmm. Meiko Kaji is one of my favorite actresses. Alongside Pam Grier, she was one of the first women actresses who was known primarily for doing action movies.
Yeah.
In the early 70s. That was not very common yet. I think you could probably put Angie Dickinson in that bucket too, in the early 70s. But, there really weren't very many back then. And in Japan, she was a pretty big star. But she's got a really interesting story. Like, her career reflects a lot of what was going on in the film industry in Japan around that time. So she's still around. She does TV there sometimes. And she didn't really like being kind of put into the action bucket so much. She wanted to break out, and she ended up doing a big drama film that was nominated for some Japanese Academy Awards. I have not seen it. It's pretty hard to find, subtitled. But anyway, she started off at Nikatsu Films when she was pretty young and did a series of movies called the Stray Cat Rock movies, which are these really fun movies. Several of them, I think, are in English now. Stray Cat Rock, Sex Hunter is definitely subtitled in English, although... Listen, I'm going to date myself. This came out on DVD like 15 years ago. And when I say it's out, it might be wildly out of print by now.
It is, Arrow Video has a collection of them on Blu-ray.
Oh, they did? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, they did a set. They did a bulky set, and that went out of print. And now they just have like a regular Amaray case with all the...
Oh, that's great. Yeah, those movies are really fun. They're very jazzy. They've got a lot of that spirit of the late 60s in them. So she started off doing those movies and would play gang leader in those movies. And then she ended up, she did a few other movies for Nikatsu, a lot of movies about like wandering gamblers and like haunted samurai, like samurai ghost movies and stuff like that. But she ended up leaving Nikatsu because in the early 70s, the Japanese film industry was not doing great. And Nikatsu pivoted to doing all softcore porn.
Oh.
So it'd be the equivalent of like if Lionsgate was like, we just do porn now. Like they were that size of company.
We're just going to do that. Yep.
Yeah. Like not the biggest, but a major. And they were like, we only do porn now. And she was like, no, thanks. And so she left.
You have a spot here if you want.
Yeah. She didn't do a lot of nudity in her career. Like another series she did was the Female Prisoner Scorpion series, right, which is a fabulous revenge series. Very cool. Very psychedelic. My favorite's the second one.
Yeah, I think
Jailhouse 41.
I think that's the one I like the best too.
Yeah. And so like, those are pretty rough and tumble movies. So, there's a little bit of nudity in those, but she didn't want to she was like, no, I don't want to be in soft cores. Like I didn't sign up for this. I'm an actor. Right. Like I don't do this. And so she left and ended up doing Lady Snowblood over at Toho. And she became famous off of that. And that led to a whole other, this movie had a sequel. Mm-hmm. And then after that, she did the Female Prisoner Scorpion things. And she was like a pretty big action star in Japan. Yeah. But then, like I said, in the late 70s, she was kind of looking to expand into that and be, a serious a more serious actress. And so she was in the Battles Without Honor and Humanity movies too.
Okay.
Which if you're familiar with Japanese film are a big thing.
I think Arrow's got a set of that too.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I have the female prisoner scorpion from Arrow. I got that set, but
me too.
Yeah, I don't have the Stray Cat Rock one. I need to pick that one up. And,
me too. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah,
dating myself, like I said. I believe it's called Double Suicide of Sonozaki. It was like a serious drama that she was in. She had been doing a lot of Yakuza stuff, a lot of action. It's this sort of thing. And like I said, she was nominated for a Japanese Academy Award. But then, she kind of transitioned into TV. And she's actually on a TV series in Japan that aired last year.
Oh wow! Okay.
So she's still around, but she was kind of, I would call her the Pam Grier of Japan.
There you go. Yeah, that's adequate. Yeah, and I bet she's got like just that iconic character. I mean, Lady Snowblood, of course, and then the female prisoner scorpion with the hat and the trench of those.
Yeah, that series has gained in popularity quite a bit. Like when I first discovered this movie, it was back in 2003. Lady Snowblood, and Female Prisoner Scorpion was kind of obscure at the time. Not a lot of people knew about it, especially not the whole series. Like you couldn't get the whole series. Like you had to get an import if you wanted to see the whole series. I think it was just the first 2 movies were out in America at the time. And then, but now it's a pretty common point of reference, which is pretty cool, but also gives you that hipster feeling of like, you just want to say like,
I like to, yeah.
Just so you know. You don't because you're not a dickhead, but you have that thought.
I liked it when I could only watch 2 of them and wonder about the other 2.
Yeah, exactly.
My pirated, reverse-screened vision that I downloaded of a torrent. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, like the home video stuff's getting so looser. They're getting things together that, making them almost more mainstream. And I guess,
and it's not a bad thing.
Happy people find these things. Yeah.
Yeah, like these movies are awesome, but it was a couple years ago where I got to the point where I was like, oh, don't be surprised when people have seen Female Prisoner Scorpion anymore, like, because it's out.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool.
I mean, I go back to the days where I remember I had to, like, go to, like, Suncoast and special order Suspiria.
I used to be big around this time, and I still have quite a few of them. I used to be big into buying VCDs off of eBay.
Oh, okay.
Asian movies that weren't out in America yet.
Okay.
Because this was a thing that you could do. You could hack, like the cheaper the DVD player, the better. Mm-hmm. If you bought a really cheap DVD player from Walmart, when you set it up, you pick the region.
Right.
You just pick a different region and voila.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
used to order a lot of stuff off eBay from Hong Kong and Thailand and Japan. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I bought a region-free player, and that changed my life and made my wallet a lot lighter.
Yeah, that's like a crappy. You can do the hack.
Yeah.
But like yours is going to last for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do the hack. You can just keep going through the other ones.
Yeah, but like, I had one that was like region 3, I think was the region that I was getting a lot of, and then I had one that was PAL because when you set it up, you just pick PAL. Mm-hmm. They were like $15 DVD players, so it was fine.
That's awesome. Yeah, we used to when we did testing, we had a special PAL station.
Oh wow, yeah.
It was always weird to watch movies that were not intended at that frame rate, and I was like,
PAL's really weird. So much weirder than regions because the frame rate's different.
Because I remember it always looked like it was on the 1.5 play is what it looks like when you do it. But oh my gosh.
Like an example of that is that Ken Russell movie, The Devils. Mm-hmm. Because it was censored and edited and banned in all these different places.
Right.
There was so much confusion about which version of The Devils would be on different discs or, when it played on Shudder, there was a lot of confusion around it because like the run times were slightly different just because of the PAL NTSC.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha. And so it wasn't
like, is this missing 10 seconds? It's like, no, it's just longer, shorter in PAL.
Right.
Yeah.
And they didn't run that uncut, did they? It was just a normal.
I think fully uncut, it only exists in a print. I think
so. That's like one of the last holy grails.
Yes, truly.
Come on, Warner Archive, but They won't. Who knows?
Well, the Catholic Church is not as powerful as it used to be, so it could still happen.
It
They were
could.
the ones that didn't want that movie out.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's true. Or they could trade them for some of those truth tablets they're hiding under their... have you read the manga that this is based off of?
Yes, I have, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I saw this movie and I was just like, holy shit, this
All
is my
in.
favorite movie.
All in. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm on eBay, Google translating shit. I'm like all over it,
Yeah.
packing my DVD player. Like this movie just really opened up a whole new. It opened up the bootlegging gray market side of me,
Gotcha.
which eventually led to Everything Is Terrible. So I would say it's like in a roundabout way, it's kind of the big thing in my life was this movie, because I was just like, I need to see more of this stuff. I need to see more of this. One of the things was the manga was out in English.
Okay.
So I did get that, and I've read it. And the funny thing is, the manga is like the movie is it's violent, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of that beautiful bright red spraying tempera paint blood, but the manga makes the movie look really tame.
Really?
A lot of sex, a lot of really explicit gore. Like it's wild. Yeah.
Gotcha. Wow.
An artist who did Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a cool series as well.
Yeah. Also based on, it's funny, like these are comic book movies.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Truly.
big Japanese samurai movies of this era are comic book movies. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This one does have like sex in it, but it doesn't. It's got like a rape scene, but it's not like gross about it.
Yeah,
or
there's
overt.
not a lot of nudity in this movie. One of the characters she's a sex worker. She's paying off her father's debt.
Right.
But they don't really show a whole lot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that was Meiko Kaji was like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot more in the Female Prisoner Scorpion series from what I can remember.
Yes,
Than
the
this.
Female Prisoner Scorpion series is pretty rough in terms of rape scenes and stuff like that. Like the first one in particular is a movie that I wouldn't necessarily recommend to everybody, because some people, they have their reasons and they're pretty sensitive to that kind of content. Yeah.
Yeah, the first one's a bit brutal. And then I remember when I watched it first, I was like, oh, man, I don't know if I want to keep going with these, if it's going to be this after this after this. And then
The second are a little different, though.
The second
they
one
mellow out as they go.
They get, the second one I think has the better handle of like the goofiness and the grittiness. And then it gets a little more progressively goofy.
But even the first one, though, like it's not just total, like gutter trash. Like
no.
They're like psychedelic pop art. They're beautiful.
Yeah. Well, it wants you to feel something, and it does. And
Yeah.
I think I've explained this on many times on the show where people get offended or feel like they hate a movie because it made them feel a way. I'm like, well, that was the movie working. You're supposed to feel that way. That's success. Oh, I feel like.
But I would say I would call Female Prisoner Scorpion an exploitation film.
Right.
But I would not call Lady Snowblood an exploitation film.
No.
Nope. It's an action drama, is what I would call it.
The big rape scene in the movie is just them throwing her mother around, like just
It's part of the plot, It's not gratuitous. It's central to the plot. It's one of the reasons why Yuki, that's her name in the movie, and Yuki means snow in Japanese.
Right.
Like that's one of the reasons that she is born for vengeance. The movie opens, we're in a jail cell, and the lighting in this movie is so cool.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You have the red uniforms of the prisoners, and then you have these blue light coming through the slats in the prison walls, and then snow is falling through it, and it's just gorgeous lighting.
I don't think snow's ever looked as cool in a movie before.
No,
it's so
cool.
awesome. And yeah, the movie's like effortlessly stylish too.
Oh.
Like it just
Beautiful.
It's so natural. And like the thing I like about it, this movie is so simple, and that's like the key to it. But it's in the structure of the narrative that they make it a little more complex, which isn't because it's a simple story.
It's episodic. The movie.
It's told in chapters. Yeah, and one thing I like is with that, there's a lot of flashbacks, but each flashback almost has its own style. Like there's one that's like told by like a drawing where they're given the history. There's some with historical photos. There's some with like sepia tone photos of the movie. Yeah. And then there's like the horror of the prison, but has the beautiful snow outside. But it's kind of like a horror movie there, and then there's kind of the different kind of filters on the training sequences and and when the mother kills one of the assailants, it's just every flashback has its own look, and I think that's really awesome.
I think that and the episodic like chapter structure of the story do reflect its comic book origins.
Right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely, yeah. That's what I like about this, and just like technically, it's just awesome. I mean, these were like weird, goofy, but actually they are more informative than a lot of the pictures of back then of how.
Sure, yeah. I don't know if this was considered a B picture when it was made. I think because the manga was pretty popular.
Okay.
So I think it was, and I don't think it was like a
would it have been a B in America?
It was a fairly big thing. Yeah.
Would it have been a B in America, but an A in Japan?
It never. A lot of this stuff never came out in America.
Oh, it didn't play double feature somewhere at all? Or?
No.
Okay.
Most of Meiko Kaji's movies didn't make it over here until like the 90s.
Gotcha.
Yeah, until home video was when a lot of these movies came over. Not a lot of the 70s Japanese movies played in America at the time. There was Shogun Assassin, which is the first two Momo together. But a lot of what was getting exported was actually from Hong Kong, was Shogun.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it wasn't so much. The Japanese films didn't travel over here as much back then. But anyway, the movie opens in this prison. The snow's falling, everything. And there's a baby being born. And this woman's in labor. And she's so intense. So intense. And she's
a real demon coming out.
She's telling all the other prisoners, like, if I die, it's fine, but the baby has to live. And she starts telling them the backstory, of my husband and I were on our way to a new town with our son, and we were going to start this new life, and he got a new job, and then these bandits stopped us on the road, killed my husband, killed my kid, raped me, sold me into slavery. And so I killed the guy who they sold me to. And then I ended up in jail. And then I got pregnant however I could. And this baby is going to kill all those motherfuckers for me.
All of them.
So, yeah, like that's the reason she's born, is to avenge the family she never met. Mm-hmm. It's really intense.
It is. And that's all she wants. That's what she lives for.
Yes, that's all she has. I don't think it is going to blow anybody's mind to say that, over the course of the movie, she kills all the people on her mom's list.
The checklist, yeah.
Yeah. And at the end, when she accomplishes her goal, like, I think Meiko Kaji, she's a great actress. She does a great performance in this. She does a lot with her face.
Right, yeah.
And she has this look on her face, like, after she kills the last guy, where, like, she looks relieved, but then she looks kind of confused. It's like, well, what do I do now?
Right. And she just, she's off her game, and the daughter of one of her previous victims just comes up and stabs her. Mm-hmm. And it's because she's just like, it's it. It's over. Like, what now?
Yeah, this is the only reason that I'm alive. So, and then, but my favorite shot in the movie is at the very end, when she is stabbed and she's like laying in the snow and the sun's coming up and she's bleeding into the snow. So you have the red blood on the white snow. And, you can see where Kill Bill ripped all this off, right? And then there's this beautiful shot where you see the sun start coming up. And so you have the red and the white, and then you start to see like orange and blue kind of creeping in. And so you have Meiko Kaji's body kind of like curled up on the snow, and it's this beautiful from above wide shot with all these colors kind of playing together. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's really beautiful. I wish I could frame it and put it on the wall.
Oh, I know. There's so many moments of this movie that would make great wall decor. Like,
absolutely.
It's so good. And there's a lot. They love the contrast of red on white in this movie.
Yes.
And they have so much fun with it in different ways.
and they play with that too, because like those are the colors of the Japanese flag. And so,
and they have the American flag bleeding down. Oh yeah. Such good stuff.
I think there's a lot of political commentary in this that maybe gets a little bit lost on international viewers.
True. Well, I mean, you're just so taken in by like the action and the desire to kill.
Well, like you said, that part of it is super straightforward. Mm-hmm. It's, she's born, and then there's a training sequence with her super intense like monk who she grows up with.
They let like one of the ladies out of prison to raise her. Is that what happened?
Well, yeah. One of the ladies who was there when she was born gets out of prison and takes her to this monk and explains the whole story. And so the monk is like, "Oh, cool, yeah, I'll raise her to kill. Great.
Yeah, all right, we'll do this."
It's a whole thing. Maybe it was a whole thing back then. I don't know.
Get in the barrel.
Oh, I love the barrel.
The barrel is great.
Okay, if people haven't seen it, tell them about the barrel bit.
So one of the bits is that she is supposed to learn, like, she get a kick in the barrel, and she has to, like, push hard.
He puts her in a barrel on the top of a hill and pushes her down the hill, and then he runs to the bottom of the hill and cuts the barrel in half, and she has to jump out of the barrel before he cuts her in half.
Exactly. And if she doesn't make it, she's not worthy. She can't do it.
She doesn't.
She screws up. She flies out of that thing.
And she's like 8 years old too. Mm-hmm. It's like a little kid.
It is. Yeah, he's got a lot of tough love training sequences with her, but you can see how she's developing.
Masters and martial arts movies are like that. So.
Yeah, very much so. And we go back to that a few times, so it's not like one straight training session.
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of it jumps around, and there's a lot of flashbacks and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And the one thing I like too is there's a lot of moments with like a still person gazing at something, and there's a lot of fast cuts to other parts of the movie and things. And as somebody might be like, oh well, I've seen that before, but with this movie, it has like a sort of like song-like rhythm to how it cuts. Yes. Like I can almost feel like a musical moment with no music, and it's something cool that film could do that no other medium really can, and utilizing it. And I just felt like I see that I've seen this done a ton of times before, but in this movie, it flows. Like there's a beat to it, a rhythm, and I really like
the cutting in this movie is great, and there's a lot of great cinematography in it too. Like, if you see in Kill Bill, the shot of the camera's down on the floor, and then you have 4 people looking down at the camera menacingly. That was taken from Lady Snowblood. Yep. Lady Snowblood originated that.
Well, most of Kill Bill, Kill Bill, like this is like the blueprint, like this is the starting point. Like, okay, we're going to do a lot of this movie in this way.
And the song that plays at the end, Flower of Carnage, is the English translation, plays at the end of Kill Bill, and it plays at the end of this movie.
It did everything but put her in it. Yeah, Mako.
She sings the song. She sang the song, theme songs for her movies too. Like, she's awesome.
She's the Patrick Duffy of film. Right.
Patrick Duffy meets Pam Grier. That's Mako Kaji.
There you go. Yeah.
But I think that she has one of the all-time best kind of, I joked on Twitter and called it a resting bitch face, but she's just like...
Well, if she was a boy, you'd call it stoic.
I was joking. I don't think that that's what it really is. She just has this, she's got this long neck and this face, like this wonderful cheekbones, angles on her face, and she has this wonderful control of her muscles to where she can kind of like look, just like by moving her lips a little bit, she can look like warm and inviting, or like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
She could kill you with the look. Like,
very subtle facial expressions, but like she does an I'm gonna kill you face like nobody else.
No.
Nobody can do an I'm gonna kill you face like Mako Kaji.
Like if you're making a poster of like iconic film characters in the history, like she has to go on there from this role almost. Like I
think so. Like
this is probably her most like easily accessible role. For like to start with her films.
This was a Criterion Channel put this film and its sequel out, and I'm not gonna lie though, I kind of think the Criterion transfer of this movie is garbage.
I have the Blu-ray, probably the same transfer. It was really clean looking.
It's really clean, but it's so bright. Sometimes when they restore movies, like they're too bright, I think.
Gotcha.
Maybe the old Animago DVD I used to have, like it was called Anime IGO.
Oh,
the company that was around. Maybe that DVD was too dark. Maybe I'm just used to watching it too dark.
Possibly.
But
I thought it looked really pretty. The colors really stood out. They had
very high contrast.
Yeah.
Which is what kind of made me wonder. I wonder if they blew this out a little bit because it's so high contrast.
Nobody saw it in a theater looking this good, probably. Yeah.
Well, not in America. Certainly not in America.
I did compare because Arrow put it out too around the same time. Same set, first, second film. Arrow's has less bonuses, but the Arrow was scored as a lesser picture quality, but it looked like color timing was less touched than the Criterion one. So
the Criterion one is really high contrast, which does suit the color scheme of the movie because the movie has a lot of these, like you said, red and white and blue comes in a lot. And there's some scenes in the bright sunshine. Oh, my favorite thing though, my favorite color. This movie. I love orange red tempera paint blood. It's favorite thing. And this movie has so much of it. It's like everybody's just walking around with a big blood bag strapped to them. You know,
It's gonna hit me at any time. Yes. Well, the gore is like beautiful in this movie. It's beautiful. It's gross. It's effective. It's ridiculous, and it just works.
Yeah, it's not like Night of the Living Dead, real animal guts gnarly. It's more abstract than that, but it's still really gory to where it'll be like this spray of bright red that looks like, you know, a fountain. Yeah.
Right. And I think sound design plays a huge part in it too, because there's a lot of wicked drips and stuff that really keep it going when it's even not on the screen. You're just like,
yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah, there is a lot of squishy noises. That's true.
And there's limbs going everywhere, and she cuts one of the people in half because the person hung themselves, and she didn't get a kill, but she cut in half. I think it would have been cool had the person been faking, like, because when I first saw this movie, I was like, they're faking it. They're faking it. When she turns around, she's going to do it, and then she cut her in half. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, she's pissed.
Yeah, she's pissed.
It was her job to kill that lady. That lady killed herself. What the hell? Not cool.
In her mind, that was the second one she missed out on killing. Because she had saw the tombstone. Because there's one of the big boss. He has a tombstone. He was killed in a ship accident, but guess what? He's alive, and he wears a beard, and ends up she doesn't really get romantically involved with the son, kind of.
Oh, the journalist?
The journalist.
She does meet a journalist who wants to write her story.
That is the wildest plot thing to me. I was thinking about with this. So the woman of the assassins no one can find her. And so her sensei, her mentor, the trainer guy, divulges this plot that this journalist is going to take down Yuki's story. He's going to write a novel about it. He's going to publish the novel. It's going to sell everywhere. It's going to become a hit. This woman's going to pick it up. She's going to read it and then go, well, I need to go out and get her. In 1884.
It sounds crazy, but like that's happened before with like serial killers.
Really?
Strategically published information.
Gotcha. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, Red Dragon, they do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that thing happens. That happens in real life sometimes too. So
yeah, true.
It's a thing.
It started here.
Cool journalist character.
Yes,
like very modern. I think because he said it's 1881, and having a journalist was a pretty kind of a new concept at the time.
Right. Yeah. So that's the whole second half is those two, and she kills a wrong man, fake shimp. Like that's disguised with a Mission Impossible mask on. Yeah,
we kind of go from like her birth to her childhood, and then we go through. I don't know if it's strictly chronological, but it kind of goes from like kill to kill. And then, like you said, in the second half, it becomes a cohesive plot where they come up with this scheme where the journalist is going to print her story and learn people out, and then and like you said, that ends up she completes her mission.
Yeah, and she is we're towards the end here, but she has a great intro scene, too, where she kills a guy for leverage for a dude that can find the four assassins.
Right, yeah, totally. And what that reminds me of, like I said, that she can do a lot with really subtle facial expressions. The fighting style in this, it's not like, Sonny Chiba style, like, I'm going to punch your head in. Like, it's not like that. Like, she carries an umbrella that has a sword in it. It's very
so cool.
Long, delicate sword, which is pretty cool.
Nice purple umbrella too, yeah.
Yeah, cool purple umbrella. She has a lot of she'll do like flips with the umbrella and like pull a knife out of it. And she has a lot of like kind of like cool, subtle hand movements where she'll pull out a knife and kind of like stab somebody and they don't even know they're getting stabbed until they look down. And they're like,
oh, yeah. There was one cool part where she was, I forget, was it when the guys were first going to like try to gang rape her in that village and she slowly pulls it out? Yeah, she like slowly pulls it out and then someone arrives and she puts it back in. Like she's like, I almost showed my hand or something. Yeah, like that. Totally. It was really cool.
We're talking about comic books. Like we were saying, Kill Bill, it's obviously very influenced by this movie. But in comic books, the character of Huntress from the DC comics is a very Snowblood kind of character too.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. I grew up, that was my era.
But yeah, Huntress is like that, getting revenge for a dead family. She's like stone cold killer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jean Paul Batman and the Huntress were my era. Yeah, but no, it's great. Like if you like Kill Bill, like if you didn't go back and find this movie when that came out, because he was open about it. It wasn't like he was like,
oh yeah, no, I mean,
thing.
I think ripoff is honestly a strong word,
right,
for anything that Tarantino does, because yeah, he's very open about it. And like for me, the way that's functioned in my life is it's like breadcrumbs that you follow.
It is. That's what I think is great. Yeah, like it goes back. And granted, it was a lot of films I had seen before, but I always talk about how I really liked listening. It kind of inspired this show too a bit, was Rian Johnson's commentary on The Last Jedi, which is very informative. Like, I really liked his mindset. I really like what he's trying to do homage-wise, put things in that I was like, oh, crap. And I just loved I like hearing creators talk about the things they like and what influence them. And just that kind of motif with Tarantino, too, where it's like, oh, well, I want to go back and see where you... And Rian Johnson's a guy that knows to go back to where, like, when he did Star Wars, he didn't go like, well, what's Star Wars? Let me watch Star Wars. He was like, no, he went back to like what Lucas was into at the time, what he was listening to, watching, pulling from that, and then he took a little bit of his own and stuff like that. And that was, I think, the right way to approach things, and that's what Tarantino does, and they're not shy about it. And Tarantino does his own remix spin on things, but
right, like this is not the only film referenced in Kill Bill Volume 1 by any stretch of the imagination, but it's the most prominent one. And it's one that when you see it, if you've seen that movie, you're like, oh shit, that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really did that for me. I feel like this movie really took me from that level of being a kid in high school who sees new movies when they come out and have mostly heard of like big name American directors. I had heard of David Lynch and Martin Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino. But I feel like this movie is the one that kind of took me over the threshold where I was like, oh yeah, Toshio Fujita, I know who that is. That's the director of Lady Snowblood. And that opened the door to me getting into bootlegs and gray market and international DVDs. And I think once you go down that rabbit hole, there's no coming back.
Your bootleg story is a lot cooler than mine. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers producer's cut.
Oh,
that was my first experience of bootlegging.
What were we talking about? We do not cast aspersions on any art.
That's true.
We judge them on their merits.
I traded what I thought was a director's cut of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 for it, and it was not. It was not. And the guy was very mad at me. But I got the producer's cut. I didn't mean to. I wrote an article decades later apologizing to this man if he ever read it, but...
Oh, that's nice. Meiko Kaji, still one of my favorites. All-time great face maker in cinema. I think
gosh, yeah.
Fucking cool.
Stone cold, just
Stone cold. But she could also be there are parts in Lady Snowblood, like, there's a part where she meets the daughter of one of the guys she's going to kill and kind of like, feels for her a little bit. And there's a part where she's just standing and watching the daughter, throw some, it's a whole backstory, but she throws some kind of wicker basket type thing.
They call them like a woman basket or something. It was
I'm not sure what those were for. It was something made out of wicker. They call them like wicker wives or something like that. That's what they were for.
Yeah, maybe they were to put do clothes on, like make a shirt
be
or
like
something.
A mannequin. Yeah,
mannequin, because they kind of had that look to them. But
totally, they were like person shaped. So there's this part where she's watching her throw all those in the ocean because she tells her dad that that's how she makes her money, but it's not how she makes her money. So there's this part where Yuki, Lady Snowblood, standing there watching her do this, and like her face kind of softens, and you can see that she has some sympathy for this woman, and she can convey a lot of emotions, but just with like literally her face, not her mouth, not her eyes, her face. And I think that's really cool. And she's just her fighting style is very like elegant and badass at the same time. Like, I just really like everything about this movie.
What's kind of interesting about her kills in this movie? It just hit me like. The first one she goes to kill, he's like a drunkard, just loser. He doesn't care. He's done with life already. So it's like easy. The next one, she hangs herself before she can get to her. And then the third one, she has to stab him through his son to get to. She never has the direct, like, satisfying, just like, I did this, me. Like, there's always some sort of block in her way. Like, the only one she gets to do, it's just not fun because it's
Yeah, and
not
it's
that she was in it for fun, but
well, and it's tragic though that she doesn't even get that satisfaction because that is literally the only thing she's ever had going in her life.
Right.
Is this. And and she doesn't even get to have the full satisfaction of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah, and the direct kill she does have is a fake guy, and then a guy that's already pretty much dead anyway. Like that's and then the guy to get to the people to get the
kind of a waste of all those years of getting pushed down a hill in a barrel, huh?
Right, yeah. True.
Well, there was a sequel, so
yes. I like the sequel too. I don't know your feelings.
Yeah, the sequel I wouldn't put it quite on the same level in terms of like art, like we were talking about. The first one is very much a work of art in the way that it's shot. I wouldn't quite put it on that level, but it is a better than your average 70s flick.
Definitely. We'll talk about that someday. All right. What else? This is where we just kind of talk about anything we've taken in, books, movies, TV, music, or something we've written, produced, put out in the world. So, Katie, what else?
Well, I write 2 or 3 reviews a week for AV Club, and so, I'm always watching something. This week I'm writing about, this is an exciting one. So Kathy Yan, who made Birds of Prey, speaking of Huntress, her first movie, which was made either 2017 or 18, it was a couple years ago now, it's finally coming out. It's called Dead Pigs.
Oh.
And it is an ensemble piece, sort of like Birds of Prey, but it is set in China. I believe Kathy Yan kind of grew up going back and forth between China and America. It's about an incident that happened in Shanghai probably about 10 years ago. I don't know exactly, where there was like an industrial accident and like thousands of pigs got killed and somehow ended up in the river. And so, like, everybody's going about their regular business in Shanghai, and then all of a sudden there's, like, 10,000 dead pigs floating down the river.
Yikes.
And so this is, like, kind of a colorful ensemble crime comedy.
Okay.
That's sort of based around that incident. And it's a really cool movie. It's going to be out on Mubi at the end of the week. And, yeah, if you liked Birds of Prey, I highly recommend it.
I love Birds of Prey. In an odd year we had, it made my top 10 last year.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
I think, I love
Or if you dig, just Asian films in general, I would say definitely check out Dead Pigs. And I also rewatched Scream over the weekend, which I hadn't seen since it came out.
Back when if you had a cell phone, you were a suspect.
Yeah, exactly. A big chunky one, too.
Yes. Slow-mo. Oh, I like Scream 2 better. I was actually a bigger fan of that one than I was the first one. I think Scream 2 might, in my opinion, despite having its reshoots and stuff that it did, but I think it might be like Craven's best directing. Like, honestly, like there's some all-timer chase sequences in that movie, and still to this day get me like the cop car scene in that one.
Better than the opening scene of Scream, which is like an all-timer.
Oh, that is not. No, I'm not. My praise of Scream 2 does not disregard Scream 1, but that opening scene in Scream 1 is that's an all-timer. But like Scream 2, I think the opening's solid. But like there's a scene in the where Dewey and Gale get chased around the college in the sound booth and stuff. That's really great. When Sydney and her roommate are leaving campus, and the cop cars wreck, and they have to get out of the car, and the killer's like dead. Like that's really good. And I think it really cared about the additional characters they were adding in a slasher movie, because they paid a lot of attention to them, and like the Dewey and Randy and stuff were like, and they had the balls to knock off Randy, which I think was one of the best moves that the series has suffered by being scared to do it again since. And if you go to a movie, they better not kill off Sydney and Gale and Dewey, you're going the wrong way, man. Like,
man, you should feel like anything can happen.
Yeah, Scream 4 had a barn scene. When Scream 4 had that barn scene where Gale Weathers did not die, I'm like, okay, well.
You're like, I'm out of here.
Everybody's making it out of this movie. That was my thing. And but no, Scream, that was a big moment for me in high school. I was like, slashers are back! Because I was like the one kid watching them, and then everybody was watching them again. So.
Well, see, that's when you had your little moment of like...
Well, I held off on Scream for the longest. I didn't go see it for the longest time
because you were like,
I was like, Look at this pop thing.
I've seen these movies.
You have not seen The Prowler. How can you go see Scream? You know, like,
Ingrates.
yeah, like I got The Prowler to watch, and then my mom actually wanted to see Scream, which was bizarre, and she was like horrified by it. And I was like, that was great. So I finally went with her, and it was, you know, I was like, I really liked it. I was like, okay, you win, Kevin Williamson.
What really struck me watching it again is, you know, the two images that have stuck in my mind from that movie since I was like 13 until now was Rose McGowan in the garage door.
Right.
And the opening sequence with Drew Barrymore. Like, those are just in here forever. But when I was watching it again, it was like I went and saw the original Nightmare on Elm Street at the Music Box here in Chicago like 2-3 years ago, not too long ago. And I hadn't seen that one in a long time either. What struck me about both those movies was the same thing, was that how script driven they both were.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember them, like I remembered these set pieces, but, you know, especially compared to like a Friday the 13th film, those two movies are very script driven.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I've seen Elm Street in the theater like once, and I get some parts are goofy, but it ends up being more laughter.
Well, this is a huge pet peeve of mine too.
Yeah. So that's why I get the funny thing, when you go see it with a group, you don't realize how bad the alcoholism of the mom is in Elm Street till you see it with a group, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you start going, it's under the towel. It's behind it. Like, you could really see the booze bottles everywhere. So that's enjoyable.
Yeah. No, like sometimes when people just laugh all the way through a movie, I want to like tap them on the shoulder and say, it's okay to feel feelings. You can feel a feeling. You don't have to laugh.
That's my thing. I think there's some people feel too tough or something like with scary movies, or they laugh out of their fear, and it's really weird. Like, oh, it's old. Or it's like.
But I think there's a difference between kind of nervously giggling, because that's something that I'll do. Like extreme gore always makes me laugh. Like an extreme gore scene, I go, bah! Like, you know, like there was Saint Maud that just came out. It has one really shocking moment in it.
I have a screener. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, well, I won't give you any more context. But there's one like really shocking moment in it at Fantastic Fest. When I saw it, it's interesting because those are like really hardcore, you know, genre horror movie people that go to those, and you got an even mix of and bah! You know, it's like the spontaneous noise you just make.
Gotcha.
There's a huge difference between that and like watching the bed scene in Nightmare on Elm Street, where the bed's turning around and like giggling like you're watching Plan 9 from Outer Space. Like, it's stupid.
Right.
It's stupid. Like, it's okay. You can engage with this film like seriously. Like, you can.
Yeah. Do you know what a triumph it was to make this goddamn thing? Like, that's
one of the triumph.
Like, oh, it's so crazy. My what else is The Little Things. I finally watched that one.
I saw that. Speaking of giggling,
I titled this "Y'all Seen Seven?"
That's absolutely what it is.
Oh my gosh.
That's really what it is.
I felt when I watched it, I feel like a younger, hungrier director could have done something with this.
Sure.
Now, I don't know if it would have been better. Well, like way better, but it could have been more interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone was very comfortable in that film. Like with Denzel Washington's case, it's the comfort of like not trying that hard. And in Jared Leto's case, it's the comfort of like, I think I'm a brilliant actor, so I'm really going to try. Like, the confident kind of comfortable. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, like it's got a cast there, and it just doesn't challenge them or do like
it's Fincher exploitation big time.
Oh yeah. And I was watching, I'm like, man, this movie's not even interested in itself. Like, I always for me, Denzel, he's a guy that I'm like, even if I watch a bad movie with him, I was okay watching it because I like to watch the man.
Yeah,
but
you enjoy him as an actor, yeah.
But this was, it was. Like Rami Malek was interesting just because he's like weird. He's kind of got a wild card flavor to him when he's in things. So
he's an interesting actor. Yeah, he does a lot of kind of weird shit. I think Jared Leto wants to be the kind of actor that Rami Malek is. Yeah, to be honest with you.
No, totally.
I'm not a big Jared Leto fan, as you can tell.
I don't know who many are.
He's got a cult though. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
No,
He's got to look it up. He's
better
got
delete this part of the podcast. If they're like the Snyder Bros, I better delete this.
Yeah. Be careful.
I know a couple stories. And these are from probably like 15 years ago now. 15, yeah. So when he can admit he was in Urban Legend, then I'll maybe give him a little bit of praise.
Then you'll give him like a tiny little. You'll give him an inch.
Still my favorite movie of yours. Well, no way. He was in Fight Club. I like Fight Club.
Urban Legend has a really great library scene in it. That's one of my favorite things in horror movies. When they go to the library to look up the thing that's happening to them.
Right.
Oh, it's my favorite.
They don't do that anymore because they just pull the damn.
You just Google it now. It's so boring.
It was so funny. It reminds me of like the Da Vinci Code. Like I read that book, and then like they turned like all this research stuff that was kind of an interesting part of the book into like on a bus looking at a phone, and they were done. I was like,
bummer. Yeah, no,
right.
That's one of my I love that trope so much.
Not that I'm supporting the book or the movie. I'm just saying I remembered that from
right.
That was one of those like grocery store books where I was like, I'll read that before the movie.
Oh yeah.
Now I read it. I have to go see the movie. Did not happen with Lovely Bones. Still haven't seen the movie. What?
Pretty quick read. The Da Vinci.
Oh yeah, it's a real quick page turner, short
it's
chapters.
Airport book, right?
Yeah, yep, total beat. Yeah, just and then I read another Dan Brown book, and then he like recycles the same structure for every book of his. Like it's the same thing.
Nice work if you can get it.
Hey, he's making money. But yeah, that was the little things. Nope.
Yeah, like if it was just like a hair campier, I think it would have been really fun. But it was like it took itself pretty seriously.
Yeah, that was probably definitely part of the problem. But hey, it's a new movie with Denzel Washington and Rami Malek and Jared.
It's like the cereal.
3 Oscar winners, and they can't make it that.
That's true. It's the cereal in a bag version of 7. We'll call it that.
There you go. Yeah, true. Okay. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the show. Katie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, this is so fun.
I felt like I held off too damn long in bringing you on board to here. Like it.
Oh, well, I'm glad I'm here now. So.
But alas, I have the most fun talking movies and stuff with you. And before we go, let people know where they can find your work and things.
Oh, well, avclub.com is where you can find me. At Rife with Katie on Twitter. I'm not great at Twitter, but I am on there a lot. So
the ones that aren't great on Twitter do things. The ones who are good at Twitter aren't doing much.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder how people tweet so much.
I don't get it. Yeah. I think was that harsh writing advice day? Like, stop. Like, how are you on Twitter so much? Like
that. I seriously wonder.
Yeah, I do too. I'm like, okay. I wonder how it is. Yeah. All right.
You can find me on there. That's the social media I use the most. And yeah, avclub.com. I publish most weekdays on there. Yeah.
Gotcha. And did you want to talk about your drive-in event?
Yeah, we do have an event that, so you mentioned Mike Vanderbilt up top, who was a guest on the show before. He's also here in Chicago, and he runs a drive-in theater down at the bar where he works, the Rock Island Public House. So they had a screen made, a booth built, the whole thing. They have a drive-in running down there. And something that we're doing in the beginning of March that is something that I want people to know about, we're doing a tribute weekend to Mike McBeardo McPadden, who, if you're into the wild and woolly side of movies, you may have heard of Mike. He wrote a couple books. He wrote a book called Heavy Metal Movies, one called Teen Movie Hell. And unfortunately, Mike passed away back in December. So we're going to do a tribute weekend to Mike at the Rock Island Public House from March 5th through 7th. And we haven't nailed down all the details of it yet, but we want to do a virtual element because I used to do a lot of readings with Mike McPadden. And he loved nothing more than throwing a reading, and people would write essays and read them. And that was his favorite thing to do. So we're going to do that in honor of Mike. And then, so you can find out about that on Mike Vanderbilt's Twitter, my Twitter, Rock Island Public House, on all the socials. We'll have the details on there.
Excellent. And I'll try to share what I can on that as well. And I am on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD, written work at whysnoblue.com. There's more from the Brandon Peters Show this week, including, speaking of 7, and stuff. The Out Now commentary for Silence of the Lambs that we recorded for that show, as people know, it airs on my show too. But until then, well, that'll be out tomorrow. So until then, always remember to keep the positivity in your online film discussion.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.
誰に頼まれてこの柴犬を狙う？